Summer, 1943, Camp Crossville, Tennessee. The German soldier stared, mesmerized, at the brown liquid fizzing in the bottle before him. After 2 years fighting across North Africa, surviving on hard biscuits and bitter ersatz coffee, this sweet, carbonated drink, called Coca-Cola, seemed impossible made real. It cost just 5 cents at the camp canteen, the same price American children paid with their allowances, guards informed him. Across American prison camps that summer, 371,683 German prisoners of war would confront a reality that completely contradicted everything Nazi propaganda had taught them about the supposed weakness of Americans. They discovered a nation where ice cream was a routine dessert, where soft drinks were everyday refreshments, where candy bars were so common that guards handed them out freely. These simple treats, foods that many German children had never tasted, quietly but profoundly undermined Nazi ideology. The mathematics of abundance were written in sugar, carbonation, chocolate, and ice cream, revealing an American industrial capacity that made German deprivation not noble sacrifice, but needless suffering. What began as simple amazement at sweets would evolve into a complete psychological transformation. The end of the North African campaign, the surrender of the Afrika Korps in Tunisia in May 1943, brought approximately 250,000 German and Italian soldiers into Allied captivity. These veteran desert fighters, who had pushed British forces back to Egypt under Rommel's leadership, expected harsh treatment. Nazi propaganda had warned them that Americans were cruel and would starve prisoners. Instead, within hours of surrender, they were issued American rations. These field rations, complained about by American troops themselves, contained treasures: crackers, processed cheese, candy, fruit bars, instant coffee, sugar tablets, and cigarettes. German soldiers, who had subsisted on minimal rations for months, treated these meals as feasts. Military records show that processing camps in North Africa even served pancakes with syrup, fresh eggs, and milk, foods that had vanished from German army rations years earlier. The systematic feeding of enemy soldiers with superior provisions began immediately, though its full psychological impact would only be understood later. A German officer later testified to the International Red Cross, "We expected to be starved as prisoners. Instead, the Americans fed us better than our own army had. This confusion about American resources began our education." The Liberty ships carrying prisoners across the Atlantic in summer 1943 further revealed the scale of American abundance. These mass-produced vessels, one completed every 42 hours at peak production, transported up to 30,000 prisoners monthly to the United States. Naval records show that prisoner rations aboard these ships matched or exceeded the provisions. For the crew, providing approximately 3,500 calories daily, including fresh bread, meat, vegetables, and coffee with sugar and milk. Shipboard refrigeration maintained the freshness of these foods throughout the 2-week crossings. Most remarkably, ice cream was often served. The USS General M.B. Stewart's log from July 1943 records serving ice cream to prisoners on July 4th, produced using the ship's onboard ice cream maker capable of 10 gallons per batch. For men who had not seen ice cream in years, this frozen dessert in the middle of the ocean defied belief. When ships docked at ports such as Norfolk and Newport News, German prisoners encountered an American Nazi propaganda had deemed impossible. Norfolk Naval Base, covering 4,300 acres with extensive waterfront facilities, handled more cargo daily than major German ports managed in a week. At the port exchanges, prisoners glimpsed shelves stocked with candy bars from leading manufacturers like Hershey, Mars, and Nestlé. Military procurement records from 1943 show these exchanges carried dozens of varieties, priced uniformly at 5 cents each, the same as across the country. The journey inland by train provided yet more lessons in American abundance. Unlike the II cattle cars used in Europe, German prisoners traveled in passenger coaches, and dining cars served full meals. Documented menus from July 1943 included fried chicken, vegetables, pie, and coffee. Prisoners quickly realized this was not special treatment, but standard American rail service. Once at camps, the contrast continued. The American prison camp system exceeded Geneva Convention standards. Camp Crossville, Tennessee, a typical facility, featured electric lighting, hot water, flush toilets, and heated barracks. Yet the most striking demonstration of abundance was the camp exchanges. Army quartermaster records show that these stores stocked multiple soft drink brands: Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, RC Cola, alongside candy bars, ice cream where refrigeration allowed, cigarettes, fresh fruit, snacks, and even beer at 3.2% alcohol content. Prisoners earned 80 cents per day for labor, later increased to $1. With candy bars and soft drinks at 5 cents each, a day's wage could buy 16 items, luxuries beyond German imagination, where even rare treats required special connections or favors. Coca-Cola, in particular, became a symbol of American industrial democracy, a small, fizzy proof that abundance could be produced, distributed, and enjoyed on a scale Germans could hardly fathom. The Coca-Cola Company's wartime production reached extraordinary levels. According to company records, 5 billion bottles were produced in 1943 alone. Under a military contract, every American serviceman worldwide was guaranteed a 5-cent Coca-Cola, a commitment requiring logistics on an unprecedented scale. German POWs. Prisoners of war discovered that this soft drink, largely unknown to them before capture, was omnipresent throughout America. Every camp received regular deliveries. Work details observed vending machines and coolers everywhere, at gas stations, factories, and schools. Americans of all ages and social classes drank it casually, often discarding half-empty bottles without a second thought. The level of standardization amazed technically minded prisoners. Coca-Cola tasted identical, whether consumed in Maine or Texas, a feat of quality control that far surpassed anything achieved by German industry. The syrup concentrate, manufactured in Atlanta and distributed nationwide to bottling plants, exemplified industrial coordination that challenged Nazi assumptions of American chaos. Historical records from Coca-Cola archives confirm that many prison camps received weekly deliveries of 200 to 300 cases, each containing 24 bottles. Camp Hearn, Texas alone, consumed roughly 7,000 bottles weekly during the summer of 1943. Ice, cream in American prison camps, seemed almost impossible to Germans who had not seen it since before the war. Yet Army records confirmed that ice cream was regularly served in camps with adequate refrigeration during summer months. The military considered ice cream vital for morale, so important that specialized ice cream ships were constructed for the Pacific Fleet. At Camp Shelby, Mississippi, the July 4, 1943 celebration included ice cream made on site. Prisoners watched as hand-cranked freezers produced gallons of ice cream using ice, salt, cream, sugar, and flavorings. The casual use of these scarce resources, ice in July, cream, sugar for recreational food, demonstrated priorities Germans could not comprehend. By 1944, many camps had electric ice cream machines. The variety available, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, butter pecan, exceeded anything German ice cream parlors had offered before the war. Prisoners could purchase ice cream bars for 10 cents, ice cream sandwiches for the same price, or cups of assorted flavors. Army procurement records show that larger camps ordered 50 to 100 gallons of ice cream weekly during summer months. Frequency varied by location and season, but prisoners regularly enjoyed this frozen luxury that had vanished from German life. Sugar consumption in American prison camps delivered a particularly striking impact. In Germany, sugar was strictly rationed, with civilians receiving only 280 grams per month when available. In American camps, sugar sat in bowls on tables for unrestricted use. Quartermaster records from 1943 to 1945 show that camps received 100-pound bags of refined sugar weekly. Camp bakeries used sugar liberally, producing cakes, cookies, and pies that appeared regularly on menus. Mess halls sweetened coffee, tea, cereals, and desserts without limitation. One documented incident from Camp Aliceville, Alabama, illustrates the contrast. In August 1943, humid weather hardened several hundred pounds of sugar, making it difficult to use. Rather than attempting to recover it, as German kitchens would have, staff discarded it and ordered replacement supplies. German prisoners working in the kitchen reportedly felt distressed by this waste. American chocolate consumption patterns further demonstrated democratic abundance. Major manufacturers such as Hershey, Mars, and Nestlé produced millions of chocolate bars monthly despite wartime restrictions. The military alone purchased 380 million pounds of chocolate products during the war. Prison camp exchanges stocked a variety of chocolate bars, standard Hershey bars, Dations, emergency chocolate bars, and assorted candy bars containing chocolate, all available for 5 to 10 cents. Prisoners discovered that Americans had brand preferences, casually choosing one over another. Red Cross packages, distributed monthly to prisoners, included chocolate bars among other items. American Red Cross records confirm that standard parcels contained chocolate or candy bars, instant coffee, processed cheese, crackers, canned meat, cigarettes, and soap. These packages supplemented regular rations, providing luxury items that far exceeded what German civilians received as basic rations. Thanksgiving 1943 introduced German prisoners to American holiday abundance. This purely American celebration showcased national coordination of consumption, dwarfing German organizational efforts. Army records confirm that all prison camps served traditional Thanksgiving dinners: roast turkey with stuffing, mashed potatoes and gravy, sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, vegetables, pumpkin pie, coffee, and milk. The logistics required to provide turkey dinners to 425,000 prisoners and millions of American servicemen worldwide reflected an organizational capacity that stunned German observers. The fact that German prisoners received the same meal as American soldiers emphasized equality of treatment, contradicting Nazi racial hierarchy. Christmas 1943 brought further unexpected generosity from American civilians. Church groups, civic organizations, and individuals sent packages to German prisoners. The American Friends Service Committee alone distributed 50,000 Christmas packages to enemy prisoners. These packages typically contained homemade cookies, candy, toiletries, games, books, cigarettes, and writing materials. Local communities near camps often provided additional support. In Tonkawa, Oklahoma, townspeople delivered homemade treats to German prisoners at Camp Tonkawa. In Hearne, Texas, church groups brought Christmas cookies and candy to Camp Hearne. This civilian kindness fundamentally challenged Nazi ideology. Americans, even those with family members fighting against Germany, demonstrated charity toward German prisoners, revealing strength through mercy rather than vengeance. As labor shortages intensified, German prisoners increasingly worked outside camps, witnessing American food production firsthand. By 1944, approximately 100,000 prisoners worked in agriculture and food processing, gaining intimate knowledge of American abundance. In Michigan orchards, prisoners picked cherries destined for maraschino production, the bright garnishes topping ice cream sundaes. The sheer volume staggered them. Single orchards produced tons of fruit solely for decorative purposes. At canneries, prisoners observed strict quality control that rejected perfectly edible fruit for minor imperfections. Del Monte records from 1944 show that approximately 15% of fruit was rejected for canning due to size irregularities or blemishes, typically diverted to animal feed. Sugar beet processing in Colorado and Nebraska revealed agricultural mechanization beyond German achievement. Individual farms produced more sugar beets than entire German regions. Prisoners learned that American sugar production, from both cane and beets, reached roughly 7 million tons annually, explaining the casual abundance they witnessed. German prisoners working near schools observed early versions of organized school lunch programs. Children received hot lunches including milk, protein, and vegetables. The National School Lunch Act would formalize this program in 1946, but wartime precedent programs operated successfully. The milk program particularly impressed German observers, as schools provided fresh milk daily to children. The logistics of delivering milk to thousands of schools demonstrated organizational capacity that Germany could not achieve, even for military supplies. Some school cafeterias even offered ice cream for additional purchase. The concept of children buying frozen desserts at school, while German children faced food shortages, created a profound impact on prisoner observers. When minimum security prisoners dined at American diners under guard, they encountered the democratic abundance of American society firsthand. These small restaurants offered menus that would have been fit elite German establishments, yet were available to anyone with modest funds. Documented prices from 1944 show that hamburgers cost 25 cents, Coca-Cola 5 cents, a pie slice 15 cents, ice cream sundae 25 cents, and a full dinner special 65 to 75 cents. The equality of service, with anyone able to order anything, directly contradicted German social stratification. A factory worker and a bank president could sit side by side at adjacent counter stools, eating identical meals served by the same waitress for the same price. For German prisoners of war, these everyday scenes exemplified a society of abundance they could hardly comprehend. As prisoners gained access to American publications, they discovered production statistics that completely dwarfed German industrial efforts. In 1944, American production figures were staggering. Sugar production reached approximately 7 million tons. Chocolate and cocoa products, 380 million pounds purchased by the military alone. Coca-Cola production hit 5 billion bottles in 1943. Ice cream exceeded 500 million gallons, and milk output reached 108 billion gallons. By comparison, German production during the same period was minimal. Sugar was heavily rationed and primarily sourced from beets. Chocolate was reserved almost exclusively for military use. Soft drink production was negligible. Ice cream was virtually non-existent, and milk was severely rationed. The sheer scale of American production, widely published in newspapers and magazines, made clear that America's wartime output exceeded Germany's pre-war peaks. By late 1944, the tables had turned in unexpected ways. German prisoners in America were sending food packages back to their families in Germany, rather than receiving supplies themselves. Using their camp wages, prisoners purchased American products, chocolate bars, instant coffee, canned goods, to mail home. International Red Cross records confirm this striking reversal. German prisoners in America sent approximately 11 million parcels to Germany during their captivity, most of them filled with food. The impact on German families, receiving American abundance while experiencing starvation in freedom, profoundly undermined Nazi ideology. American rationing further emphasized the contrast between societies. Americans complained about sugar rationing, 2 pounds per person per month, more than triple the German allowance when sugar was available. Meat rationing, at 28 ounces per week per person, exceeded what most Germans received in an entire month. Even with these limitations, Americans maintained levels of consumption Germans considered impossible luxury. Office of Price Administration records show that Americans purchased 74 pounds of sugar per capita in 1944, despite rationing, 10 times German consumption. Beyond Coca-Cola, prisoners discovered the breadth of America's soft drink industry. Pepsi-Cola, Dr. Pepper, RC Cola, Orange Crush, and numerous regional brands competed nationwide. The very existence of multiple companies producing similar products demonstrated a market abundance unimaginable under Germany's centrally controlled economy. Bottling plants operated in every major city. Carbonation, bottling, capping, and labeling were standardized and executed with remarkable efficiency. Single plants produced millions of bottles annually. Distribution networks reached every small town, gas station, and grocery store. By the war's end, American soft drink production totaled billions of bottles annually, dozens of bottles per citizen each year. One industry alone outproduced entire sectors of German consumer goods. Spring 1945 delivered the final ideological blow. As American forces advanced into Germany, German prisoners in America watched newsreels showing GIs distributing chocolate and gum to German children. The joy on the children's faces, receiving candy their own government could not provide, completed the demolition of Nazi propaganda. The contrast could not have been starker. American soldiers advancing through enemy territory carried sufficient rations to share freely, while the German state, which had promised victory and power, delivered only starvation. Liberation. Footage from concentration camps reinforced the lesson. American troops shared rations with skeletal survivors, demonstrating compassion toward victims of the regime the prisoners had served. Between 1945 and 1946, German prisoners returned to a devastated homeland. Many had gained weight during captivity in America, while their families had suffered starvation in Germany. They brought back first-hand knowledge of abundance to a land of scarcity. Medical examinations confirmed that German POWs generally returned healthier than when captured, while their families were weakened by deprivation. This physical evidence of American plenty versus German scarcity was undeniable. Many prisoners also brought home final Red Cross packages. Chocolate, coffee, and canned goods became family treasures. Children who had forgotten the taste of chocolate received Hershey bars from fathers who had regularly eaten ice cream during their captivity. Former POWs became unexpected advocates for American aid, particularly the Marshall Plan. They had witnessed a society that could produce wealth without conquest. and their testimony helped Germans understand that America could afford to rebuild a defeated enemy. These men recognized that American power was rooted in productive capacity, not extraction. They had seen a nation wealthy enough to waste food while waging a global war. This mindset, prosperity through creation rather than conquest, shaped West Germany's post-war economic strategy. The German economic miracle of the 1950s was partly built on knowledge gained in American prison camps. Former POWs who had witnessed American production methods, distribution networks, and consumer abundance applied these lessons to reconstruction efforts. They learned that mass production could make luxury items affordable. Standardization enabled both efficiency and quality. Consumer abundance supported political stability. Industrial democracy could outproduce authoritarian control. These lessons, experienced through Coca-Cola, ice cream, and everyday American food abundance, influenced an entire generation of German business and political leaders. The transformation of POWs through American food culture is documented extensively in military quartermaster records, international Red Cross reports, corporate production archives, particularly Coca-Cola, prisoner correspondence preserved through censorship, post-war interviews and memoirs, and academic studies. Arnold Kramer, the leading historian of German POWs in America, concluded that food abundance was central to ideological transformation. His research confirmed that casual American plenty achieved what formal re-education programs could not: the systematic demolition of Nazi myths of superiority. The statistics speak for themselves. Average prisoner consumption from 1943 to 1946 included 3,300 to 3,600 daily calories, sugar 4 pounds per month, meat 32 ounces weekly, 1 quart of milk daily, ice cream served regularly in summer, soft drinks unlimited at 5 cents each. In contrast, German civilian rations during the same period provided 1,200 to 1,500 daily calories, sugar 280 grams monthly when available, meat 10.5 ounces weekly, often unavailable, milk severely rationed, ice cream non-existent, soft drinks unavailable. These were not propaganda claims, they were documented realities. Enemy prisoners ate better than German civilians, proving that American abundance extended even to defeated foes. The POW experience with American food culture left a lasting imprint on post-war Germany. Coca-Cola returned to West Germany in 1949, becoming a symbol of American alliance. Ice cream parlors, modeled on American soda fountains, appeared in German cities. Candy bars and chewing gum became symbols of recovery. Former POWs often became importers of American food products, understanding their appeal from personal experience. They knew these products represented more than taste. They symbolized abundance, democracy, and modernity. Supermarkets in Germany during the 1950s were championed by former POWs who had witnessed American grocery stores firsthand. They understood that democratic abundance required new distribution methods, not just increased production. In post-war interviews and memoirs, German POWs consistently identified food abundance as transformative. A former Africa Corps officer stated in a 1975 interview, "We expected to defeat a weak, divided America. Instead, we found a nation that could give ice cream to enemies. That's when we knew we had lost more than a war. We had lost our entire worldview." Another veteran, interviewed in 1985, recalled, "My first Coca-Cola was like drinking the future. Sweet, fizzing, completely unnecessary, and available to anyone for a nickel. That drink contained everything Nazi Germany wasn't: abundant, democratic, joyful." Testimonies collected over decades confirm that American food abundance achieved what military victory alone could not: complete ideological transformation. The men who arrived in the United States as committed Nazi warriors left as witnesses to a society of democratic prosperity. Historians now recognize the German prisoner experience in America as a remarkably successful re-education, accomplished not through coercion or propaganda, but through the simple, undeniable demonstration of abundance. The program's effectiveness relied on observation rather than instruction. Prisoners saw American society functioning at peak productivity while treating even their enemies with dignity. Food was central to this process because hunger and satisfaction are universal experiences. Weight gain and improved health provided visible proof. Continuous daily meals, supplemented by purchases from the camp canteen, allowed prisoners to compare their own previous deprivation with the sheer plenty surrounding them. Every meal became a lesson in American industrial capacity. Every bottle of Coca-Cola demonstrated standardization, distribution, and logistical mastery. Every ice cream sundae revealed that abundance could be shared democratically. The impact extended beyond the prisoners themselves. Children of former POWs grew up hearing fantastical stories of American abundance in prison camps. Initially, these tales seemed exaggerated, but as West Germany recovered and American products became widely available, the stories proved true. The mythology of American plenty, born in the crucible of captivity, shaped generations of German-American relations. Many children later traveled to the United States for study or work, drawn by the vivid accounts of a world previously unimaginable. They discovered reality matched the stories. Supermarkets brimming with variety, soda fountains offering sundaes, candy aisles stacked with dozens of choices. This multi-generational influence went beyond individual families. West German business culture absorbed the lessons observed by prisoners, the value of consumer abundance, standardized quality, and functioning democratic markets. The post-war economic miracle was not just a triumph of production, but a triumph of creating accessible abundance for ordinary citizens. Today, McDonald's operates over 1,400 restaurants in Germany. Coca-Cola is ubiquitous. Ice cream is commonplace. The transformation from scarcity to abundance, initiated in American prison camps, is now fully realized. Yet the historical lesson remains profound. Ideological transformation can occur not through deprivation, but through abundance. Kindness, demonstration, and generosity can achieve what coercion cannot. German prisoners who could scarcely believe ice cream and Coca-Cola existed in American camps became witnesses to democracy's most subtle yet powerful weapon: the capacity to produce and share abundance even with enemies. The story of German prisoners and American food represents one of history's most unusual victories, a war of hearts won through generosity rather than bullets, an ideology defeated by ice cream, a worldview shattered by soft drinks. These men were transformed not by punishment, but by plenty. They arrived believing in German superiority and the weakness of America. They left understanding that American strength stemmed from a productive capacity so immense it could waste resources without concern. A society that could offer Coca-Cola to prisoners for 5 cents possessed power far beyond military might. The ice cream sundae, layered with ice cream, syrup, whipped cream, nuts, and a cherry, became a metaphor for American abundance. Each component individually surpassed German expectations. Combined, they represented a luxury previously unimaginable. That prisoners could order seconds while German children faced hunger revealed the full extent of Nazi failure. Former prisoners often recalled moments of revelation: the first fizz of a Coca-Cola, the first spoonful of ice cream, the first bite of a Hershey bar. These sensory experiences carried far more weight than any argument or lecture. They had tasted democracy, and it was sweet. The transformation was both complete and irreversible. Men who had marched under the banner of the Third Reich returned home as apostles of abundance, spreading the revolutionary message that prosperity comes from freedom, not conquest. They had learned that America's secret weapon was not its military power, but its ability to serve ice cream to enemies. In the end, the bottles of Coca-Cola and dishes of ice cream served in American prison camps achieved what armies could only attempt: the complete transformation of enemy hearts and minds. The German prisoners who could scarcely believe such abundance existed became its most credible witnesses, carrying home the truth that democracy tasted like chocolate and fizzed like carbonation. Their story reminds us that sometimes the greatest victories are won not through destruction, but through demonstration. Not through taking, but through giving. Not through hatred, but through the simple act of offering ice cream to enemies on a hot summer day. The men who experienced American abundance as prisoners became freedom's most unlikely ambassadors, forever transformed by the impossible reality of Coca-Cola and ice cream in American prison camps.